Hello, everyone. Today I have an awesome guest joining me today. He is the Libertarian nominee for Maryland State Senate. His name is Brian Kunkoski. And first of all, welcome, Brian.
Thanks for having me.
And I first of all want to ask you, why did you get involved with politics, or why did you want to get in the race?
I guess my start in politics started pretty young. I've always had a healthy questioning of the government. It really came from nothing other than just questioning things. Um, Never really fully trusted the government. It was kind of solidified when the Real ID thing came out in Maryland, and I don't even think I was driving yet. And I was just talking to my dad. I was like, why does the national government want to put us on a list just for having a driver's license? I thought that was, the state's job. And then,
Right.
that's kind of where it blossomed from. And then, life kind of went as it was. I just through high school and then started my original career in the restaurant industry. And then when I moved back home, I lived in Baltimore City for a while. I'm from Pasadena. And when I moved back to Pasadena with my wife, then we bought a home, had our kid. I got involved with the Libertarian Party of Maryland. I've been a registered Libertarian since 2013. And then I actually had a conversation with a local delegate who, can I say pissed me off? He pissed me off. And I was
Yes,
like,
you
you
can
know what?
say whatever swear words you want on this.
He pissed me off. We had about a 45-minute phone conversation one night about 2 years ago. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get involved with the Libertarian Party of Maryland. I'm going to find them, and I'm going to, if they're not having meetings, we're going to start having meetings. And lo and behold, the Anne Arundel County Libertarians, which is a subcommittee of the Libertarian Party of Maryland, because we're kind of small numbers, small geographically, we don't have county affiliates like a lot of other bigger states do. So we're just subcommittees of the state party. I went to my first meeting there, and it was peak COVID. There was only 4 of us there, which wasn't indicative to their normal amount of meetings, but COVID was kind of scaring people away.
Oh, it certainly was. I was at restaurants, in the beginning, like as soon as they could reopen them, I was there, and it was barely anybody was coming.
Yeah, it was. It's pretty sad. You feel bad for these business owners because there's so many. I mean, the majority of the good restaurants are not chain restaurants, so they need that constant volume coming in every day. So it was nice to be able to give the restaurant Hella's in Millersville, is where we have our meetings, that business. So
Cool.
I started getting involved there, going to every meeting every month. And then I became the vice chair of the Anne Arundel County Libertarians. And then our chair at the time, David Dahl, he was a longtime political activist. He really grew the county subcommittee to a really good number. Sometimes we have upwards of over 40 people at our meetings.
Nice.
But he decided to step down, focus more on the state level. He's now our state vice chair. And I took the role of chair. So between being vice chair and chair of the Anne Arundel Libertarians, we try to get voices, speakers in there that we don't agree with all the time, right? So we've had, the Anne Arundel County NAACP in there, which is a group that we don't agree with on a lot except criminal justice reform. And it's really pushed me to reach out, branch out. We've had anti-lockdown people come to speak at our meetings. We've actually done video conferences from people in California that are, trying to get ranked choice voting as a regular thing throughout the country. Mm-hmm. So that's really forced me to branch out because obviously I'm the chair. I want people to come to the meetings. So I got to find interesting people that are come speak. So that's really how I got into politics in a very long-winded way. Sorry for that.
So you've been involved for about over 9 years at this point.
Yeah, and I would say heavily involved about 2.5 years.
Okay.
Really, COVID, as a lot of people kind of kicked us into that realm because what was happening was just completely and utterly ridiculous.
It was an unconstitutional disgrace, and to witness it in real time made me sick to my stomach. And if not for my car being on the fritz, I would have taken my butt right to Annapolis back in March of 2020 and raised hell in person. And I regret not doing that to this day, giving Larry Hogan a voice of opposition to the mass hysteria that he caused. And shame on him, and shame on all the people that supported him and, just harmed a lot of people and scared them. And my goodness, I guarantee you the stress, I bet you people, I'll just say self-deleted over the stress and paranoia,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not a former addict myself, but I have close relations of former addicts, recovering addicts. And, when the shutdowns happened, you had people that had been clean for years that weren't able to go to the regular meetings, and people were overdosing. People started using again and started overdosing again. And that's a direct result of the shutdowns. I mean, we could sit here all night and talk about the negative impacts of COVID that people like us called out at the time. And then, now it's finally starting to come to light. People are finally starting to admit what actually the negative impacts, not just economically, but people's personal lives, how it negatively affect them. You have the Atlantic just came out yesterday, the day before, about how, people who were okay with the shutdowns and the social distancing and the masking and the school closures, asking for forgiveness, for amnesty from, what they did wrong. And personally, they deserve no quarter from me, right? Because people like me, people like you have been calling this out from, once we realized that it was only people with morbidities, I can't say that word.
Morbidities.
People that had health issues outside of COVID were the ones that were ending up in the hospital. And it wasn't that far into it.
And they also were realizing, just based on how many people were getting it and then surviving, even in April 2020, it was like 96% survival. Now, that doesn't mean that people aren't going to have long-term side effects from it back then when it was stronger. But my whole thing was, if you're going to shut down the mom and pop businesses, you have to shut down the Walmarts of the world, or at least make it so that they are doing curbside, or just deliveries. That made sense to me. Like, assuming this was like a Black Plague type of event, it actually made sense to me to do curbside and deliveries only. But then, when you think about the logistics behind that, it really wasn't feasible. My other issue, and I'll never let this go, for the guy, I don't know if you ran. No, I ran for county executive in Baltimore County.
Okay, cool.
So the guy I ran against, the county executive, he would not allow small businesses to do curbside and deliveries. And I just never, that made no logical sense to me, and it was almost like a punishment for not being a big business.
Right.
So anyway, I don't want to go too much into COVID, but we definitely know your stance on lockdowns and vaccine mandates and all that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was part of that group of people that their job was threatened for not getting vaccinated. And I stood strong. I wasn't going to get the vaccine. I didn't need it. I'm a little overweight, but other than that, I'm a healthy person. There's no reason for me to get a vaccine.
You're a young guy. Right. I was overweight. I was overweight when I got COVID myself. And believe me, when I found out that I had it, I was like, okay, well, I didn't stress out about it. I said, okay, if it kills me, it kills me. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If I start feeling really bad, I'll go to the hospital like anything else, right?
Right.
And it was more of an annoyance than anything. It was just like, can I get back to normal life yet?
Right.
But,
right.
I stayed away. I did what I could so that I always say the virus died with me as far as I know. Because I stayed away from people for 14 days, as they recommended in the beginning.
Right, which, people like to say that people that are, the the COVID vax just want to spread it. Like, no, it's not true.
No, not at all.
I had it actually, I had gotten it the day of, I was supposed to have a meet and greet at a local restaurant.
Oh, no.
A couple months ago, and that was the first time that, at least that I knew that I had it. I was sick. It wasn't nothing crazy. I had a fever. I had, that's pretty much it. It was just the fever was the worst part. Yeah, I felt like crap. I just slept. The one day I pretty much slept all day. I was awake for maybe 4 hours that day. But the next day I felt a little bit better, and then by Monday, Tuesday, and I went back to work that Wednesday because I was fine. It was just like a cold. It was like a bad cold. I haven't had the flu in a long time, so I couldn't even compare it to the flu because I don't even know what the flu's like anymore.
Yeah, I don't normally get the flu either. It's just whatever your genetic makeup is. If you're not predisposed to getting the flu, I guess it kind of, I guess you don't. Well, at least for me, I can only speak from my own personal experience. I don't like the people that said, "Oh, the virus is fake" and all this. No, I lost my sense of taste and smell. I was one of the biggest anti-lockdown people there were in Maryland, and I have the videos to prove it. But when I tell you I had it, when I tell you I lost my sense of taste and smell, it happened. I've never had that happen before with a sickness.
Yeah. My buddy had it, and he still hasn't. This was over a year ago he got it, and he still doesn't have his sense of taste and smell back right. And we're not denying that.
Who is he? I missed who he is.
Just a buddy of mine. He's actually the guy that does my hair. So if you like my hair, go see Nick at Dave's Barbershop in Pasadena. But yeah, and he's a healthy guy. He's a weightlifter. He's a bodybuilder. He's about as healthy as you can be, and it still got him. And
I met a guy at GNC, and he couldn't smell for like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah. Yep.
For me, I think it lasted about a month. So, but all right. So you on your Twitter feed, I really like a lot of your posts, by the way.
Thank you.
But one of the things you had written, or maybe I don't know if it's on your website, but you said you want to overturn or repeal tyrannical laws. So could you, off the top of your head, tell me some laws that you can think of that are tyrannical?
Yeah, sure. Honestly, the three big ones that I'm running on, as far as I see it, are tyrannical. The gas tax is one of them. The gas tax is tied into inflation, as most of us know. So we're paying an extra 46 cents a gallon on top of the price of gas, plus the 18-cent federal tax. And our roads still suck. The second one, the second one is I actually had to kind of change. I had to change my wording on a lot of things. Luckily, I didn't print out a bunch of lit after the Bruin case in the Supreme Court. But originally, I wanted us to become a shall issue state. Now that we are, thanks to the Supreme Court, I want to go a step further and make us a constitutional carry state, like a lot of states in the country have become in the past few years. Nothing. As far as I see it, nothing is more tyrannical than gun laws. It's a right that our founding fathers knew how important it was, and the way that I see it, and the way that it's written in the Constitution. There's a reason they wrote it in the Constitution, because they wanted to explicitly protect those rights. They knew that it wasn't, when they wrote that, it wasn't to protect us from each other, and it wasn't to protect us from outside forces. It was to protect us, the citizenry, from our government.
Right, because they had just finished up a war with tyrants, and they understood the importance of being able to defend your freedoms. And as a last resort, you take up firearms.
Exactly. That's the last. Obviously, violence is always the last resort. I don't condone violence in any way, shape, or form. Yep. But when push comes, when you're backed in a corner, what else do you have? You can't talk your way out of it at that point. Nope. And then the third thing that I'm running on, and you're going to say, how is this tyrannical? And I like to joke because it's kind of a goofy thing to run on, but it's gotten really good reception. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, not just for what it is, but down the road. I want to get rid of vehicle re-registration in the state, right? So every 2 years, we have to either go online or we have to go to the MVA, kiosk, or desk and re-register our vehicle to get that little sticker on our license plate. Now, outright, it's, okay, you're taking either the time and then the money to get your license, your little sticker to put on your license plate so you don't get pulled over. That's on the surface. But what it is it's a fee that really doesn't help the state at all. We have so many other taxes and tolls and things like that help pay for the roads that we don't need this extra fee, this extra inconvenience on our citizens in Maryland. I've heard arguments about the medevac helicopter, about, well, how are you going to pay for the medevac helicopter? Well, we can pay for everything that we're paying for now, is if when we create a budget in the legislature for the transportation fund, and we don't allow the legislature, the governor, to pull money out of that transportation fund, like for the general fund, for pet projects that different politicians have, because there is no protections for the transportation fund. So they can just pull it out. It gets pillaged every single year. And then we end up with bad roads, high gas tax, and we still got to pay taxes on registration, re-registration, everything under the sun when it comes to our vehicle. Now, where I was saying before, where
well, you know, they're going to be taxing. They want to. I don't know if this definitely wasn't passed. We would have heard about it. In California, they want to start taxing mileage because a lot of people have electric cars, and they can't get the fuel tax from them.
Yeah, I mean, the way that everything is set up right now, it's a foundation for more tyranny. It's nothing that's set up in place right now, as far as vehicles are concerned, is for more freedom. It's not how it is. So, but what we can do is, if we can get rid of vehicle registration, and we can find, and I know that there's a way that we can still fund the roads, still fund State Highway Administration, medevac, all of those things. We can still fund those things by taking this inconvenience. Is it a major inconvenience? No. But it's a pain in the butt. Nobody wants to re-register the vehicles. Nobody wants to pay the $200 and some that it costs. I just did mine the other day. I can't even remember what it cost because I was just angry about it. Right. It's just another tax. It's all it is. It's just another fees, taxes, licensure.
I wouldn't. Mine was 120, so like I just think that's no pun intended, highway robbery. I don't like that it's that much money. Because if you look at other states like Tennessee, Texas, it's like $30. I don't know if it's like once a year or twice a year or every 2 years, like it is in Maryland. But it's like that. Anything over $100, you're like, really,
Right.
And that money. Well, the more, look, right now, people are hurting. People are hurting. They're like, should I get medication or should I get groceries? Should I pay my rent or should I get groceries? People are cutting back, and every little bit counts, and an extra. Let's say $75 in people's pockets would be great and very much needed right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I'm getting to with, if we can get the legislature to do away with vehicle re-registration, and I'm not saying to do away with registration, period. Right? You buy a vehicle, or you transfer a vehicle, you have that initial registration fee. I get that. You're putting something into a system. It takes actual man hours to do that.
Right.
Now, hours, it takes a couple minutes. But what we can do is, if we can do this, then we can prove that we can take away a fee or a tax. It's all a tax, right? Is that we can take this away, and then we can start chipping away at other inconvenient taxes and fees, permits, licensure. It's a stepping stone, and it can snowball from there. And what it makes the legislature do is that it makes the legislature set a budget and stick to it.
Yeah.
That if, of course, there's going to be unseen fees and things like that, but you budget yourself. We hold the state responsible for the money that they're stealing from us, and to give us the service that we want, right? So where I live in Anne Arundel County, we don't get to pick who picks up our trash, or we don't have the choice to take our trash to the landfill. It comes out of our property taxes, and we have to pay for it regardless of how good or bad it is, right? Nothing makes me more angry than on a rainy day when the trash company leaves my trash can open and I come home to a trash can half full of water, right? So until we can get to that point, and that's a more county level
or
kind
in
of
my
thing.
case, well, the lids went missing, and the next thing you know, you're getting a fine saying there was no trash can lids on your trash can. Well, it's because your people lost them.
Right. They just throw them on the ground. Windy day, they blow away.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. I couldn't find them. I couldn't find the lids. I said, screw it. I'm not buying, I'm not going out to Home Depot and buying some more trash cans. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that cost me. But, it's like, this is, it's like a game of gotcha, and unfortunately we can't gotcha the government. Like when it's their property and their grass is growing over 3 or 4 feet tall, we can't then collect a finder's fee on that, which we should be able to. But that's just how things go. And so, I think you're right about, if you go head down that direction, it'll hopefully snowball with other issues.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really what it is. It's a good, what I find is a good starting platform, good stepping stone to further that kind of mentality of monetary responsibility from the state, and slowly eroding those fees, licensures, permits that have built up over the past centuries.
Yep. I'm going to switch topics here. So, United Movers has ranked Maryland as the 10th moved out state. What would you do to keep people in Maryland for things such as retirement and, keeping stable jobs, things like that?
Yeah, sure. So I just want to preface this by saying I think a good, not a good, but a portion of that number is people that move to the area, get a government job, fluff up their resume, and then they move elsewhere, either to another government job or to the private sector.
Okay.
I'm not ignorant to that fact. But when you're getting taxed for every single thing, there's not a single aspect of our life that we don't have,
including the rain.
Technically, where I live in Anne Arundel County, it's illegal to collect rainwater. People do it. Nobody ever gets in trouble for it, but it's just the idea that that's on the books, that you can't collect rainwater. You can get fined for that. Like you were saying with your trash cans, people get sick and tired of getting nickel and dime.
Yes.
And there's much more free states. For us being the free state, we are, besides like California and New Jersey, maybe New York, we're not really free at all. And we're a small state geographically wise, so it's not like you can just hide in 2,000 acres of land and just do what you want. You're going to get caught at some point. You can't get away with building an addition or even a carport on your house without a county truck driving by and saying, you don't have a permit for this, here's a cease and desist, you got to take it down.
They're using satellite imagery at this point. Let's be realistic.
Yeah, that's true. I very rarely see a county car drive around anymore.
I'm just saying, like, if they're going to catch people doing that, it'll be just go on Google satellite,
Right,
or
exactly.
they may even have their own that's higher resolution. So.
Right. I used to work for a roofing company, and we would get pretty good satellite imagery. It was pretty crazy. They measured the square footage and everything, so the technology's out there for sure.
Yep.
But as far as keeping retirees in the state, Hogan actually did a good job of the bill to lessen the burden of taxes for retirees. Both my parents are retired, and so when you're retired, you essentially live on a fixed income.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't retire as multi-millionaires, and even if you did, you're expecting to live another 30 years, and this has to last you 30 years. You still want to, maintain your lifestyle, have fun, all that stuff. So I would. I'm a big, huge advocate for just doing away with income tax, state income tax in Maryland for retirees. You hear so much about people that are
Would you
retiring.
put a age minimum on that? Because sometimes people can retire in their 40s.
No, if you worked your butt off to retire in your 40s, good for you. You shouldn't be punished for that.
Okay.
You retire, you don't pay an income tax because let's be honest, you're paying a tax on everything else.
That's true.
You buy a candy bar, you're getting a tax on it.
And now they're I don't know if they had started this but now it's official. So I sell a lot of things on eBay, and they now started like collecting basically as it's a 1099 once you go over $600 in sales. So
Yep. Who Venmo does it now. My campaign, actually, I did for my meet and greet. I had set up an Eventbrite thing in case people just wanted to buy tickets ahead of time, and every time I would go on the website, big thing would pop up say if you plan on making over $600 from your event, you have to fill out this tax form.
Oh my goodness!
And it's an eBay. I sell stuff on eBay too, and it's you have to fill it out now, regardless if you sell anything or not. Before you can even get started, you have to fill out this tax form.
Well, I had already had an account before they had done that, and then basically the last time I was on there, they said, "Hey, you made more than $600. We're going to withhold your funds until you give us your social security number and all your other information." I'm like, they got you, unless you don't want to unless you don't want your money.
Right. So, there's working under the table is becoming near impossible, except for just cash.
Well, I don't even consider this working under the table. Like I said, there was already a sales tax on these items that I'm selling. The government's double dipping. And then they're going to double dip on my income because technically the money from this is income. Yeah,
it's
triple dipping.
You turn around and there's tax for everything, whether you're selling or buying, whether you're, whether it's a passive income. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
Hell, even if you die,
you're getting taxed.
There's a tax probably.
Yeah, if you die, there's a tax. If you have an estate, there's a tax.
Yep.
It's completely and utterly ridiculous. And, looking at it from a fiscal perspective, there's no reason to stay in Maryland. Between the cost of living and the taxes, and that after you work your whole life, you're still going to get taxed to death. Literally taxed to death. Then what's the point of staying? I'll go down to Tennessee. It's an 8-hour drive to eastern Tennessee. I'll get a big plot of land. I won't have an income tax. Get to keep all my money, and I'll just live in the mountains until the end of my days. Yeah. Well, yeah. Right, and Hogan did that, right? After the state got all this federal money from COVID, He says we have I can't even remember what it is. It's
billions of dollars, like I think it was $4 billion.
Yeah, multi-billion-dollar surplus.
Yeah.
But we still have the gas tax. We still have the same sales tax. Convenience taxes. We have all these taxes, but they're out there cheering that they have a surplus. So cut down on taxes. You're not a business.
Baltimore County did that too, and luckily this was during one of the candidate forums, and I called it out. I said, "Oh, was that the federal, CARES Act money and other things like that we are now paying for with inflation?" And they didn't want to answer that one. They didn't respond, I should say.
Oh yeah.
Because, again, you can hoodwink people who are not, because, like, I live this stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, politics, I don't want to say is my life, but I pay attention to it as carefully as I can. And when you try to lie to somebody's face about, oh, we got all this extra money, that's not free money. So.
No. It's my money. It's your money. It's our money.
And unfortunately, a lot of people fall for that, and they're like, "Oh, great! It means that the local government's being fiscally responsible." No, they're not, because all you have to do is watch their meetings, and all they're doing is, "Well, where can we spend this money now?" Instead of saying, "Well, the thing is, you're kind of put in a bad spot because if you send the money back to the federal government, you think they're going to pay back pay back down the national debt like they should? Probably not."
No.
So the county's like, look, we're giving this money. We may as well use it. But they shouldn't be bragging about it, I guess is the point. But of course they're going to do that because it's a political talking point that they can say to their constituents and who aren't informed on the issues and informed about what's going on. Exactly. It's very exhausting and very upsetting, and I just wish people were more informed voters because right now you'd be talking to the Democratic nominee and not the guy that lost. Let's see. More than likely. So, what does freedom mean to you? There's a general question, but I think it's important.
Freedom to me is the ability, or not the ability, but being left alone. That's freedom. Freedom to the fullest extent is what freedom is to me. There is no asterisk in the word freedom to me. Freedom means that you are free to do what you want, when you want, how you want, where you want, as long as you're not hurting somebody else or taking their stuff.
There we go.
That's it. I would expound on it, but that's literally it. It's freedom is what you would think about as freedom. The most generic, basic form of freedom is how I see freedom. There is no ifs, ands, or buts, except hurting people and taking their stuff, because I think we all, at least with a moral compass, can agree that that's wrong.
Yes. Taxation is theft.
But what you do with your...
We should have said that in the beginning.
What you do with your body, what you do with your property, is none of my business. And frankly, I'm one of those people that I don't care. I really don't care. I have neighbors to my left, to my right, and behind me. I have a little bit of property. I have a 1/4 acre. But I don't care what my neighbors do. If it's during the day and they're making a loud noise, I don't care.
Right.
During the day, yep. It's not affecting me. Right. So it's really just minding your own business, which people just do not do anymore. That's freedom. Minding your own business, doing what you want to do, and having the ability to reach your full potential, so that you can prosper. Because when somebody prospers and they surround themselves with people that they care about and love, the people around them in turn also prosper, right? When you're doing great, you can give money, you can help out, you can donate your time. And that's the voluntary action that I talk about all the time. And with the government's taxes and the way that, almost, essentially 40% of our income goes to taxes, that's less money that we can use to help people that we care about.
Yeah, and I think if people, to put it another way, you have to work 40% more than you otherwise would to make the same amount of money.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, I'm not. For me personally, I'm not a person that's all about money. Life is way more than money.
Right, but it's important. You know, you got to keep a roof over your head.
It's important. You want to provide for your family and give your family the best life that you can.
Mm-hmm.
But you also want to, you know, friends. The way I see it, my friends are my family too. You know, I've had the same friends since I was in kindergarten.
Oh wow!
Right, so I want them to be. I find that that's kind of rare, but you know, my boys are my family, and I want them to be happy too. And if I can help out, or if they can help me out, and they have the means to do so, you know, having the government out of our lives allows that to be much more, you know, make it much more possible.
Yeah.
And in my community, you know, the community that I live in, we do have a lot of rich people in my neighborhood. But then there's also us that are just middle class people that are just trying to work their butts off and better their lives.
Mm-hmm.
But we all come together and we have a community property and a hall that we are constantly making better. We're constantly making improvements to. And if you don't have those extra funds that are yours, that you worked for, you can't do those things. You can't better your community, the people around you, the people you love, because you're just trying to make ends meet because the government's stealing 40% of your income.